Today we're going to be making, I chose to make a Great Depression chocolate pie. And the ingredients for the pastry are butter. And in the Great Depression, the butter was rationed, so they would probably use animal fat.
Yeah, in the
lard.
Yeah, in the Great Depression, butter was rationed, so they would have used animal fat, which would have been probably lard. And we have the flour here.
And some iced water.
And some iced water to make the pastry. And what we're going to do now is we'll get the pastry made. And why did you choose this recipe?
We choose the recipe because we like to save money and be frugal.
Yes, that's correct, we do. So we're going to get the pastry gutting going and we will be back.
Now we are going to make the pastry.
So you need to put the flour in the bowl.
First put the flour in.
Give it a scrape, we don't want to waste any. Good girl.
Give it a scrape, so we don't want to waste any.
And I think Maya's going to put the butter in. Are you going to scrape the butter in?
We dropped the butter, Bill.
Come on then, scrape the butter in. Don't knock the camera. No. So we have the flour and the butter. And we're just going to use hands just to mix that all up together. Did you want to go and do that, Aspen? So what are you doing?
Mixing the flour and butter together.
Until they resemble breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs.
Well,
You can use both hands, it's easier to use both hands.
can I mix them too?
Can mix the water.
Can I mix
You can put the water in.
But can I mix?
You can put the water in. You need to roll your sleeves up. So we're just going to continue to mix this up until it becomes breadcrumb stage, and then we can add our ice water. And we're using our battered up pie tin. It gets a lot of use, this pie tin does. So I probably should really buy another one, but this is the one that we're currently using and it works out well for us. So we're getting there now. Do you want me to have a little go? Just scrape your hands off. So we're just continuing to work that butter into the flour, just to mix it all into breadcrumb stage. It doesn't have to be, you know, absolutely to breadcrumb stage. You can have little bits of the butter in there. It doesn't really matter. There's no, you know, reason why you can't be rustic in this situation. It's, you know, it gives a little bit of a rise to the pastry if there is some butter lumps still in there, but obviously you don't want, you know, too big a lumps or you will end up with melted butter and no pastry in some areas. So Aspen's just going to finish up on that. I'm just going to move the camera because it did get knocked. And then we will be adding our ice water. Do you think that's good enough?
Yes. Now you can have ice water.
Let's double check. Yeah. So Maya, you want to start pouring in the ice water, not all of it, a little bit by bit, remember?
Now stir it.
Just a little bit. Right, and then we'll see.
Stir some dough together.
And we need to make the pastry until we get a nice soft dough, but it's not too watery and too wet, because then we'll have to add more flour and that kind of messes up the quantities a little bit. So we need a little bit more.
Look, can I eat some? Because I like it.
So then we'll see how that's looking. Have a look. So we're nearly there. Just want to get all that pastry off your hands, Aspen. As you can see, we're almost to that point where we have a nice soft dough. We need a little teeny drop more water into that because the stuff around the edges there is not mixed in. If you want to scrape all your hands off there, Aspen, and then we'll... Excuse me about the elbow, but it's hard doing the video, kind of a bit cramped up in here. So that's done. And you can see we've got a nice ball of pastry there. Waste not, want not. So scrape what you can. There we go. So we're just going to put that on the side and we'll just clean it up and then we'll be back to roll the pastry out. So we've got the pastry and we're just rolling it out to fit our pie tin. The pastry has to be blind baked, so that means that we have to put it in the oven to pre-bake before we can put the filling in. So we just need to turn the pastry around a couple of times and make sure it's well floured. It's sticking a little bit there, so we need a little bit more flour on that. There you go. And we're trying to roll it out to the size of the tin that we have here. We're almost there. Did you want me to have a look? So it's almost there. We'll just give them a little bit more of a rolling it out. And any pastry that's spare will get used up as well. So we're just really trying to fill the pie tin. And we'll see if we're there. And this is a really easy pastry recipe. It's not one of these recipes that when you try and move it, it breaks to pieces and falls apart and you end up having to patch it. I've made things with pastry like that and it's not much fun. So we're pretty much there. Yeah, I would say that's good enough. So we'll just push that into the pie tin. Push them all in, even if we just have to squeeze around the edges a little bit, and then we'll get a knife. There we go, and we'll just cut around the edge of the pie. There will be some shrinkage that happens, so this will pull away a little bit from the edge of the pie tin, but that's just normal and that's fine. And then we'll need to get a piece of foil. There we go. So we have a little bit of spare pastry left. Now what we need to do is we need to put some foil in here so the bacon beans are not directly onto there. And I shall have some foil in here, or I should. Yep, there we go. So we carefully put some foil into our pie tin, and we have our oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius. So do you want to tip those in there, Maya? So Maya's just going to tip all the bacon beans into the pie. You can use rice or dried beans. It just has to be something that'll do. You're getting all of the what was in last time. You can use rice or just dried beans. These are ones I bought a long time ago. So what we're going to do with that now, that's going to go into the oven until the pastry is cooked, and then we can move on and make the filling.
Our pie base is ready and we're going to mix the ingredients for the filling now.
So our pie base is nice and crispy, and let's move that out of the way, it's a little warm. And we're going to get on with making the chocolate pie filling.
What should I put first?
The dry ingredients maybe. So we have
some sugar, some flour and cocoa,
and our little twist on this is we're actually going to add some wild food to there. So we're going to add some ground dandelion. And the reason why we're adding this is because also in the Great Depression people were encouraged to forage for food. because it bulked up what they were able to eat, and obviously it was free, there was no rationing on that. So we're going to add a little bit of roasted dandelion, and we're also going to add some plantain seeds as well. Did you want to explain about the egg, Aspen?
In the recipe we're putting egg yolks, but 3 egg yolks. But with the egg whites, we're gonna make some meringues.
We'll make some meringues with those. So we're just going to put a teaspoon of the plantain seeds in there, and probably about the same in the ground dandelion powder. Probably just less than a teaspoon, more maybe half a teaspoon of that there, and it just gives a little bit of a flavour kick. So we'll just move those out of the way. So now we need to add our other ingredients. So we're going to add in our egg. So make sure you get all of that egg out of there, Aspen. There's a spoon there in case you need that. There we go, we need to get all of that in there. So we don't need to finish scraping that last little bit for you. Did you want to add in the milk, Maya? So Maya is going to add in the milk. And the reason for the egg yolks is I think what we're actually going to try and achieve here is some kind of a custard. So we have 2 cups of milk, but the rest of the ingredients will be listed down below. Good girl, all in. There. So I'm just going to get all the egg yolk that's stuck to the spoon. Now we need to mix this up so it's nice and smooth and not lumpy. And at that point then we will be putting it in a pan on the stove to thicken up. Did you want to show your cakes that you made? Do you want to say what they are, Mia?
They are.
Go on then, say what they are.
They are. The little pastry things.
Yeah, with the scrap pastry never goes to waste, so the girls made some little pastry with a little bit of sugar and cinnamon and butter, is that? So they're going to be munching on those shortly. So I'm just going to finish up combining this custardy mix, and this is the first time we've actually tried this recipe. Aspen chose it because we've been watching a few depression videos, and also because we like to follow, you know, that way, and it does smell actually very, very good. So I think that's good enough. So we are going to transfer this into a pan, and we will see you back at the stove. So what we're doing now is we just have the chocolate pie filling on a medium to high heat. And why are we doing that, Maya? Why are we doing that? To thicken it up?
Thicken it up.
To thicken it up so it goes into the pie filling. Now with any type of custard you have to constantly be stirring this, because otherwise we may end up with it catching on the bottom, or it could also start to curdle because it has got the eggs in there. So we have to be very, very careful that that doesn't happen, because once that happens then there's not really any going back on something that's curdled. Oh, and there's a little spider wants to come in on the video. Come on. So we have a little spider here. It's trying to get in on the action there. He's running up my arm, if you can see him. So I'll just go and put him over here, so we don't want him to get burned. I think he was somewhere on the oven. Are you going to stir?
Yeah.
So Maya's just going to keep this moving in the pan, because we don't want it to burn, as we said. And hopefully it will start to thicken. I'm just going to turn the heat up slightly, but not too much on that. Stir it good, Mimi. And actually, for you know, a lot of people would think that the depression recipes would not be very, very good. And we make a lot of, you know, food, not so much depression recipes, but related to being frugal and using as much as we can. And we find that a lot of that food is better almost than, you know, some of the newfangled kind of stuff that you can make, and, you know, top recipes. So this is actually starting to thicken up now, as you can probably see. And I'm going to turn the heat down now because we're at that point where this can go two ways. It can thicken and be good, or it could thicken and catch on the bottom and totally curdle. I'm not 100% sure how much it has to thicken up, but I would suggest that that is almost there. And as you can see, it's on the bottom there, so we know that that's how it should be. So I've just turned the heat off, and I'm just going to continue to whisk that quite vigorously to avoid any lumps and the mixture curdling. And I'm going to remove that off the heat, and I will just move the camera back a little bit there just so you can see. So I'm just going to keep mixing that because it is still thickening up, and I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan. And something, as you can see, it's lovely and thick. It's a really nice consistency. And the bits that you see in there is not bits of burn or bits of curdle, that's the bits of the plantain seeds and the dandelion coffee that we added in there. So we're just going to let that cool down slightly, and it will be then time to pour this into our pie tin. So I've let this cool down slightly. It's still pretty hot, and I'll just lift it up. It really has turned out well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transfer this into our pie tin. And it is a little bit awkward from this angle. And it looks like we have just about enough. I was originally thinking that this chocolate pie filling was actually going to be too much for this pie tin. And now looking at it, I'm glad I didn't halve that recipe because it's actually just perfect. So I'm just going to use this spoon just to get the little scrapes out of here. And I'm sure there's two people waiting to test this to see if it's okay. Is that right, girl?
Yes.
Yes.
So what I will do, get those last little bits out of there. And we'll have a little taste. So I'm just going to flatten this off here, and this needs to cool down completely now, and then we can pop it in the fridge for a couple of hours or overnight to set, although I don't think overnight's going to work in this house. It'll probably be after supper. So I'll just move to that to the side. And I think we're going to have some people wanting to taste it. So we'll get a little bit on this one for you. You want to come here? You're going to tell people what it's like. You got on your finger. You're going to look in the camera. And Aspen is just scraping now. Can you get some? Now you tell me what it tastes like, and I will get a little bit. And I've got Laura over my shoulder waiting for the pan as well.
It tastes like chocolate.
And it's actually very nice.
Nice. And it's nice.
Although we don't buy them, and I've not had one for years, it tastes like chocolate pudding that you would buy from the store. So that does get a thumbs up from us. And I'll just bring the pie back in. so you can see what it looks like, and it's still steaming hot. So Aspen's really happy with that. So we're going to let that sit, go cold, and then we'll pop it in the fridge. And when it's serving time, we'll bring you back and you can see if it's set. Bye for now and see you later.
Hi Aspen, what do you think of your pie?
Looks nice.
Yes, it looks rather yummy, doesn't it? I'm looking forward to trying some of that. It's really, really yummy. Yum, yum, yum. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share.
So the proof is in the pudding, as they say, so have a big bite and tell us how it tastes. Is it good?
Yes.
Would you make it again? So do you think Great Depression cooking was good?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you like to do more videos with
Yes.
that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Good. So if you like the video, please subscribe and share it, and we will see you again soon.